show you this beautiful city. So we're going to start where we are, which is called Exhibition Square. Exhibition Square is called Exhibition Square because in 1879 we had a great exhibition here. So we called it Exhibition Square. Welcome to York. Now, the thing with this is, art gallery built for the Great Exhibition 1879. In front of it is a statue with a seagull on its head, look. It's called William Etty, that gentleman. William Etty is a York-born Victorian painter and artist, a very good one, and you'll see his pictures inside the art gallery, but not today as you saw them back in Victorian times. Etty was a painter of nudes. He was very controversial, so controversial they covered his pictures up. Can you imagine it? His statue's not there because of that though. His statue's there because he's the man responsible for York still having the city walls on our right, because basically they want to pull them down in the 1830s. William Etty stood up and said, please don't do that, they're priceless. Luckily for us they listened to him, which is why we still have the city walls, which we'll tell you about as we go around. Going to move into Gillygate. Lots of streets in York with the word gate on the end. Comes from the Viking word gatra, which means street. Gillygate, Gilly, Church of St Giles. Gillygate is simply the street of the Church of St Giles. Lots of lovely little cats we like to show you as we go around. One of them is here, coming up on our right, just after the Collins Chemist sign here. There's a lamp on the wall above the white shop window. Look behind this lamp with a little white cat on your right. Here he comes. So you will see these all around York. Smiley cat, there he is. You'll see them all over York. Originally put there in Victorian times to scare mice and rats away from the buildings. Later they became a trademark of a man called Tom Adams. He was a local York architect. He wanted to show off his buildings, so he started putting these little cats all around his buildings. Today you'll see them all over the city. That one actually isn't a Tom Adams cat, that's quite modern, 1982, but it's quite nice, so we like to show it off, and we'll show you more of these as we go around. One of the other things we have here on the right, some of the buildings you'll see first and second floors. Look at the windows bricked up. Comes from the Georgian daylight tax, where you're actually taxed on daylight. The more windows you had in a building, the more daylight you got in, the more tax you had to pay basically. The way around the tax, you simply brick up the windows. Now, that meant you got less daylight, but of course you paid less tax. Now, I'm going to aim this at the ladies, and it's a bit naughty me doing this because it's a bit sexist, but ladies, you like shopping, don't you? Yeah? No, you're from Yorkshire, aren't you? No, you don't like spending money. Ladies like shopping, blokes hate shopping, so I'm going to aim this at the ladies. Ladies, you know when you go shopping and something's expensive, what do you hear yourself saying? How much? Robbery. That's where it comes from, these windows. You are simply robbing yourself of the daylight to avoid paying the tax. Daylight robbery. You'll find a lot of these sayings come from history basically with that. I'm going to turn right, so we're going to go into Lord Mayor's Walk. Look to your right as we go past the buildings. How about this for a view? 10 feet deep, 50 feet wide. Keep going, Doddy, you're alright. 10 feet deep, 50 feet wide originally, full of dirty water, sewerage and dead animals. This would have been the moat. It's one of the finest preserved pieces of ditch in the country. Big tower on the corner there on the right is called Robin Hood Tower, though we're not sure why, because Robin Hood has got nothing to do with York. He wasn't from Nottingham either, he was from Wakefield. Now, over the wall to our right, we have York Minster. I'm going to give you its proper title, and I expect you to remember this, because I'll test when you get off. Its proper title is the Cathedral and Metropolitical Church of St. Peter in York. You all got that? Good. Now, it's both a minster and a cathedral. We call it a minster, but it's a minster because it comes from the German Meinster, which means to teach from. Cathedral, cathedra, which means the seat of a bishop. In York's case, of course, that is an archbishop. Fifth church to stand here, the first one a small wooden chapel put somewhere over to our right, 627 AD, for the baptism of King Edwin of Northumbria, so he could marry the wonderfully titled Princess Ethelberga of Kent. Great name. Over the wall to our right hand side, across the buildings here, you just see the top of our next gateway here. This is Monk Bar, which is good because I got it wrong last time I came round and called it one of the other gateways. I've only been doing this 28 years, lived here all my life, and I couldn't remember which one it was. I called it wrong one. So this is Monk Bar, tallest of the gateway, 63 feet, 19.2 metres in height. On the top, life-size stone figures known as the Wild Men of York, ready to hurl their boulders down onto anybody daring enough to invade the city. Monk Bar is the only one of our gateways to have a working portcullis. It's a big gate we can drop down when under attack. Let's drop down 1953. What happened in 1953? Oh, come on. Anybody know? Somebody on this bus should know. Shouldn't you, Kai? It's the Queen's coronation celebration. So we dropped the gate down, came down perfectly, got stuck down. We've never dropped it back down since. We still claim it works though, don't we? This is Monkgate, this is your turn, right? I'm going to quiz you. Monkgate, guess who lived here? The monks, there you go, it's as simple as that. Monkgate, Montgatra Street of the monks. So basically, there was a monastery down here. You would have seen the monks walking to and from York Minster, down this street, Monkgate Street of the monks. So if you do see any streets in York, you're not sure what they're on about, ask me. I'll try and work it out. If I can't, I'll Google it, alright? Because that's how you work things out these days, isn't it? But most of the streets are pretty straightforward. Some aren't. As you go around, you'll find some streets don't quite mean what you think they mean, but we'll try and sort them out as we go. I haven't shown this today, so I'm going to show. We've got the old county hospital here, so alright, through the gap, 1840s. Lovely building, not a hospital anymore. Used to treat people with tuberculosis in there in days gone by, which is a breathing condition from days gone by really now. So today that would probably be the COVID ward, but it's now apartments and offices. Beautiful building. Now, as we go down here on the left, we show you something that a lot of people in York never see. Don't even know this exists, a lot of people. There's a lovely garden just on your left here, just before this shop. Look at this. It's a reproduction of an Elizabethan knot garden. How about that for a garden? It's not bad, is it? It's taken about 40 years to get it into that condition. Yes? What there? Because can you imagine going there? Yeah? They run the shops, don't they? The studios, I think. Yeah. Now, so there you go. Now, we're going to turn into Foss Bank, which is where we're going to go past, run alongside the second of the two rivers, the River Foss, which gets its name from a Latin word, fossa, which means ditch. And as you can see, it isn't much more than that really, is it, these days? We don't get any river traffic on this river anymore of any note. But we did have a narrow boat go down here the other day, which amused us immensely, because we thought, where's it going? It's not going to be to reverse all the way back. But it's changed dramatically over the years, this river. If you were here 80 to 100 years ago, this area was not as you see it today. Over to our left was the gasworks. It's a very dirty, smelly area of the city. So smelly, the people who lived around here said that if you fell into the river 80 years ago here, you didn't drown, you dissolved. Now, today, this is actually a nature reserve. You'll see fish, ducks, geese, swans, and even otters live in the River Foss. Has anybody seen an otter in the Foss? No? There we go. I don't know anybody apart from my daughter downstairs who's seen one in the Foss. There we go, it's amazing. But they do live here because it's put down in notes. I'm just going to stand here for a second. So, excuse me if I fall on you. Don't do it deliberately. Now, city walls to our right. 2 3/4 miles, 3.4 kilometres. York has the most complete city walls anywhere in the UK. What?
You got your coffee?
Yes, thanks.
Have one.
Yeah, come down here, grab it. Girls try and tell you differently. Chester do not have the most complete city walls. They have very nice walls, but they aren't as complete as York, but they're still very nice. But York walls, people think they're not complete because of this area here, where there is no city wall. There never has been. York's walls have never been a full circle, they're more a horseshoe shape. We didn't need a wall at this side of the city, because this was the King's Fish Pool. This was swampy marshland, it was impassable, we didn't need a wall here. So there's never been a wall, that's why people think York's walls aren't that complete. Well, there weren't walls where the rivers were, so there was no wall here. When William the Conqueror's men came to York, he dammed the river just further down here, and this area flooded, became known as the King's Fish Pool. It's where he would feed his troops to fish from. Only the troops were allowed to eat fish from the fish pool. If a peasant was caught catching fish, he had an hand chopped off. 2 fish, 2 hands, 3 fish. Leave that to your imagination. Now, we move back onto dry land. Coming up on our right, got a lovely church. St Cuthbert's has Roman masonry in the end wall, so the small stone is the Roman bit. It's the second oldest church in the city other than York Minster, but it's got some nice features on it. So let's have a look. 2 doorways. It's got the big doorway with a porch at this end. That's the normal door. Then look at the right hand end, there's a small door. The small door is known as the Devil's Door. The idea is that during baptisms that door is left open so the devil can escape from the church. A rather nice little idea. Also on this church is another feature which I have to be careful with this story because people got really concerned just after COVID when I tell this one. So there's a black drain pipe in the middle of the church there. If you follow it to the top, look, where the weeds coming out the top, look to the right of it, there's a gargoyle's head. Now you can actually see what gargoyles are for from that. The word gargoyle comes from the French gargouiller. It means a noise in the throat, as in... See why people got worried. The water is spat out of a gargoyle's mouth. They were water shoots, so it's as simple as that. So you can see them all the way along on this. The other thing we've got on this, which is difficult to see today because they've moved the wheelie bin. Normally it's above the wheelie bin, today it's not because they've moved the wheelie bin because it's collection day. Where the cross is at the end of the church, when we go forward here a little bit, you'll see just at the end round the corner here, right in the corner of the church, there's a tiny little window. It's called a leper's squint. And it's basically where lepers would come and take communion because they weren't allowed in the church. And you'll see just as we go past, it's right in the corner as we go past the tiny, tiny little window. There it is, look. That's where the lepers would have the communion offerings that we put through. York, of course, the most haunted city in Europe, officially. Not sure how you make that official. This to our left is one of the most haunted pubs. Blacks were beautiful inside there, all old beams, roaring on fires and rail ale. It's got some nice ghosts in there. My favourite, the grumpy old gentleman who sits at the end of the bar wearing a bowler hat. Never buys a drink, sits there tapping his watch as if he's waiting for a meeting with somebody who may never turn up. I'm not sure how you make York the most haunted city in Europe. How do you make that official? If you're not the most haunted, don't you just make up a few more ghosts? Don't make sense to me. This is the Hungate area. This was a bit like the Shambles, which I'll tell you about. It was a very run-down area of the city awaiting redevelopment, mainly by the student accommodation. This is Stonebow. To our right, Stonebow House. Why am I showing you this? This is typical 1950s architecture of the useful but horrible style. Why am I showing you it? Well, it was once voted the second ugliest building in Great Britain, only beaten by the Tricorn Centre in Portsmouth. Portsmouth knocked their building down. We've kept it, that's done up, look at it. Some of the most expensive properties in York at the top of there. Does anybody live in one? Before I slag it off. So we're alright. I've got to be careful, I do this every time I come round here, the house price drops to £1,000, it's great. The style of architecture is known as brutalism, which tells you everything you need to know, really. Describes it perfectly, doesn't it, brutalism. Now ahead of us, a little church hall. It's a church hall, that, not a church. It's the church hall of St Crux. So where's St Crux's church? Well, it's gone. It was huge, it went right across in front of us. But the council wanted the road through here, so they blew it up. So all that remains of it is the church hall. Normally, there's a charity event going on in there. I always say to residents of York, if you don't know about it, it's a gem, innit? He goes, yeah, it's a gem. They don't write your names on cups, but they do it really cheap and really nice for you and treat you really properly in there. It's great. So go in there if you want a cup of tea. Don't go to Starbucks or any of that rubbish. Go in there, try it out. It's lovely. Just in front of it, York's shortest street with the longest name, Wapnar Gate. What does it mean? Well, it comes from Old English, Wapnar Gate. It's neither a wit nor a what. What is it? It's no kind of street. Originally, it only had 3 properties up there, numbers 1, 1A and 1.5. Never got to 2. It's like where the whipping posts were, where disgruntled husbands could bring disobedient wives for a good whipping. Glad to know, ladies, we don't do that after 12 o'clock. Safe today, gents. We start at 9 sharp in the morning. Just past there, we're going to go past the most famous street, Shambles. Medieval Street of the Butchers. Gets its name from Flesh Shamels. Flesh is meat. Shamel, a butcher's meat counter. Every shop in York up the Shambles was a butcher's shop. The animals were brought into the backs of the shops, slaughtered. The blood, the guts, the bits they didn't use was thrown out the front door of the shop into the street where it would remain until somebody could be bothered to clean it up, whether it needed it or not. Here it's always very busy. It's now the street of the Harry Potter shop, which of course is very odd, as J.K. Rowling has said. It has nothing to do with her books. So it's a bit of a strange one. A lot of people get really upset about it being that. I don't see why, to be honest. I think the shops up there are quite nice. I don't think it detracts. They don't complain about the shop that sells ghosts, do they? Has anybody queued for a ghost up there? Go on, be honest. No, there is a shop up there that actually sells ghosts, I kid you not. They queue for an hour and a half to get one. Good luck to bloke who's owned it. You know when you're going to be a millionaire quicker than me. I'm selling bottles of York Air next week. Yeah. All Saints pavement ahead of us. Beautiful church with a lantern tower rather than a spire where fires would be lit to guide travellers back into the city. York was surrounded by a great forest, the Forest of Goldtree. It's quite difficult to see York after dark, so they'd light a fire in the top and it'd guide you. The glow would guide you back in the city. Right, here we go. Piccadilly, 1905, modern. Piccadilly York, built to rival Piccadilly London as a posh upmarket grand shopping street. Didn't we do well? I give you Primark. We don't bring you down here for that though, we bring you down here for this on left, look at this. One of the finest views anywhere, built between 1357 and 1361. This is the Merchant Adventurers Guildhall. What's it about? Well, this is possibly the finest Guildhall in Europe, if not the world. It's a beautiful place. The guilds were the people who ran the city in days gone by, a kind of medieval trade union. Every trade had a guild. Nothing went on in the city unless a guild said it could. And the merchant adventurers were the most powerful of the guilds. They used to trade in, they were the bankers of their day. They used to trade in goods all around the world, silks, oils, perfumes. They were very, very rich, very, very powerful. They still exist today, but they only do charity work now. Here's one for you. If anybody's getting married or know anybody's getting married, you can get married in there. You should see this woman's face on last tour when I said that. She was horrified. Husband wasn't happy, I don't think, but there we go. I don't know what that was about. It was a bit bizarre, it was quite funny. But I do say to people on this weekend especially, because I think it would be free to go in because it's raining this weekend. If you don't go to anywhere else other than on this bus or the Minster, go in there, go and have a look round. It's fantastic, honestly. It is something very, very special. It's a bit of a, I'm not going to say it's a hidden gem, we all know it's here, but a lot of people have never been in there. It's good, isn't it? Amazing place. It's just all wood, isn't it? It's like amazing. And you think that was built with trees that grew back in Viking times. It's astonishing. You can see it's down on the level of the city, as is this building. We're going to turn left here. We're going to go past the Red Lion, the third oldest pub building in the city. Look at this beautiful building to our right side. So down on the oval level of the city. Links to Dick Turpin, our Georgian highwayman. He's meant to have jumped out of the top floor window there to escape capture from the authorities, landed on his horse Black Bess and galloped off into the distance. I'll tell you more about Turpin as we go around and we'll see what's true and what isn't. This is Wormgate, longest street within the city walls. Wormgate, Walber's street of the Viking warrior princess Walber. She must have been important to have a longest street in the city named after her. We've got another cat coming up, in fact we've got two. Look to your right, just after the chopping block sign. This is one of the original Tom Adams architect's signature cats. There he is to your right, look. But then keep looking right, because there's another one above Sucra. But look at the difference. This one is modern. It's rather nice. The modern buildings have started putting cats out as well, you see. And you can do the cat trail if you want something to do with kids. That's really good. Do the cat trail, follow them around. Get the leaflet, it's good. One of my favourite little churches in York, this is St. Denny's. There are documents saying this dates back to Roman times originally. There was a building here. It's not the luckiest of churches though, this one. Struck by a cannonball in the Civil War 1644, that blew the tower off, so they had to rebuild it. It was then struck by lightning twice, which blew the tower off again, they had to rebuild it. Then somebody dug a drainage ditch too close to it, 2/3 of the church collapsed in, so they gave up at that point. It's named after Saint Denis, patron saint of Paris and France, who had his head chopped off by the Romans in Paris for his beliefs. The story don't finish there because that'd be boring. Oh, no. He bends down, picks his head up, sticks it under his arm and walks all the way to his grave at Montmartre, a suburb of Paris, singing and chanting psalms from under his armpits as he went. He's a clever fella, you know, that one, Saint Denis. He's now become known as the patron saint of headaches. Now then, I'm not allowed to do this, but I'm going to anyway, because I'm a tour guide, so I'm not allowed to slag things off in York, ever, because it's just an unwritten rule. But unfortunately I'm not just your normal tour guide, because I live here and I do what I want, so I don't like this building up, right? This is Spark. A lot of people agree with me, a lot of people disagree with me. I will say it's very good on the inside, it's very quirky. It's put here to allow modern, new businesses to start up, set up in York. It's temporary. If they do well, they move out of here and move into the city centre with a higher rent, so it works very well, but it don't look very good. beautiful place we live in. Yeah. Right then, Merchant Adventures all again. Always worth a second look this. We come up here twice because this is just wonderful. We get right close up to it. So you can get in there, you can get married in there if you want. Can you imagine how much that costs to hire? I hate to think, to be fair, but I bet it's quite a lot, but it'd be beautiful. I have been to a wedding in there. My only criticism was they served wine in glasses and it should have been served in goblets, because it's that kind of place. Now, one of the success stories of Spark we just passed by is this place to our left, Kreshki. Now, those of you who live in York, if you like a pizza, especially your proper authentic pizza, it's not the rubbish they're selling pizza or a place like that, this is the place. Kreshki on your left, fantastic little pizza restaurant. Now, they're not paying me to tell you about it, we just use it, it's really good, fantastic place, and that started off in Spark about 3 years ago, grew in popularity, moved out, moved there, you'll see it's always packed out, great. We're moving to Coppergate, Cooper Regatta, Streets of the Viking wood turners, not the metal copper or the policeman coppers, but Cooper's Viking wood turners. Now, it's over to our left, you've all heard of it, the York Viking Centre down to our left. It's here in the 1970s we came across over 40,000 remains of Viking life, beautifully preserved in the silt and the mud around here. In fact, what we found here was so good it stopped the buildings being built there for about 5 years. Today you can go and see what was found there in the York Viking Centre, of course, where you'll go back in time, 1,000 years, you can see the sights, the sounds, even the smells of Viking York. It's brilliant. It's not a museum, it's a centre. They teach you all about York. I'll get you into a secret. I'm the only bloke in York who can tell you this on a tour bus. When I was 17, which is many, many years ago, I worked in the York Viking Centre just after it when it was opening. I'm the bloke that did the smells. There you go, it's my claim to fame. To our left, Castlegate, the original street. To the castle, of course, but then look at this, it moves into Clifford Street, which is much, much wider. Why? Well, it's modern. Victorian 1880s, built for horse-drawn trams to turn around in. Beautiful Technical College on the right now, housing the York Dungeon, the grisly history of York, tales of torture, plague, Dick Turpin, Guy Fawkes. If you want to be scared to death, go in there. You'll see all the horrible sights of York, unless you're out later on tonight, in which case go to Couden Bar and Nightclub, and you'll probably see one or two horrible sights in there as well. Monday morning, of course, you may see some more horrible sights in York, because they're all sat outside here on a Monday morning, the magistrates court, waiting to pay their fines. Beautiful, beautiful building. I like this. All these buildings down here built in a period of 10 years. Victorian, I like this. I think this style is fantastic. That was always the courthouse, yeah, but this was the fire station. You might remember that, the fire station. I've been trying to work out over the years whether they've still got the poles. You know, the firemen's poles they had in there. They probably have, I don't know. Can you imagine everyone in your front room? No, don't go there, ladies. Yeah, it'd be great, wouldn't it? It's built into an old Methodist chapel, so they've recycled it. Now, Clifford's Tower, always a good one. This is York's castle. Now, astonishingly, you may be amazed to find out this is not York's original castle. Originally, we had two. Brought here by a gentleman you've probably all heard of, William the Conqueror, in the year 1060. Wrong. But it's a good answer because that's all you learn at school, isn't it, in this country? Nothing else. 1066, Battle of Hastings. In fact, I'm going to show you a bit of magic here. You know 4 dates, most people in this country. But you can go 3 now because some young ones on here, but oh wait, police are after him again still. I'll let this go by, I can't compete. People of a certain age in this country know 4 dates. 1066 is one of them. 1966 World Cup win is the other one. Christmas Day and your own birthday. After that, we really struggle with dates in this country. It's one of the mysteries of Englishmen, people. But William actually arrives here in 1068, 2 years after he's conquered down south, because he has to come up here because we're being northern. We didn't like the French when they turned up here. We liked the Vikings and Saxons, who actually lived around here pretty much in harmony most of the time. Then the Normans arrived with the strange haircuts and the weird voices. We didn't like them, so we kill them, pull down the castles, like you do. 2 years of this go by, William's had enough. He comes to York with a big army. He does what's referred to as the harrying. He burns everything between here and the Newcastle area. 80 miles north of here. Land, crops, plants, buildings, animals. Everything is burnt to the ground, nothing remains. He doesn't finish there though. He then salts the earth so nothing will grow. Now it's at this point around 100,000 people perish from starvation and exposure. It is brutal. The rebellion is over. William then comes to York and he builds two castles here. He puts one on top of this mound to our left. This mound is called a motte. It's a man-made mound, which is why it's called a motte. On top of that will be a small wooden castle. He puts another one over the other side of the river to the right. Two castles. Don't look, you can't see it. It's not there. Two castles. York's the only place at that point in England other than London to have had two castles. It was that important to William. So that was the Normans. We move on to another sad point in York's history. One that a lot of people try and forget about. But we're going to tell you about it because it's history, I'm afraid. 1190 we see an atrocity take place here, known as the Massacre of the Jews. Jews in 1190 in this country are not popular. Time of the Crusades. It's also a time when the Jews were moneylenders, which went against Christian beliefs of the time. Here in York, a mob get together who don't want to pay the Jews the money back. So to not pay them back, you've got to get rid of them. So they get a mob together, they chase the Jews who live in York to the castle where they come for protection. They don't get any. Realising they're going to be killed, those Jews barricade themselves inside, they await rescue. Rescue doesn't turn up until eventually they realise they're not going to get out alive. So those Jews decide to take matters into their own hands. And 150 of York's Jews, men, women and children, take their own lives inside the castle. Now this is not a good point in York's history. It's not something we're proud of. To this day in York you'll find only a handful of Jews live here, which is amazing because Leeds is 20 miles away and they have a huge Jewish population in the Motown area. But in York they've never really returned. 800 years later, the school children of York came back here. We had a ceremony take place. And the whole mound to our left here was planted by the school children with thousands and thousands of daffodil bulbs. They're called February gold, so that gives you a clue when they come out. February, so they'll be out next month. And the whole mound comes out, as you'll have seen when you're here, in these beautiful daffodils, in memory of those Jews who lost their lives. We've actually got a break today, because there's one already out, look. One tiny, on its own, look, all by its lonesome self. Unless that's it now for this year. It could be. But there we go. I have a little thing that I always say on whichever tour I do, which is very personal to me on this tour. That's the fact that to our left there are signs here saying keep off the bank all around here. We do say to people on every tour we do, please do keep off the bank. This is a memorial site. Unfortunately we have a problem in York. People run up here, you'll have seen them do it, then they slide back down, you end up with big grooves and holes in it, look, and the flowers don't come out. So we've had to replant it this year. So this year was really good, but we can't do it every year because it costs a fortune. So we do ask people to stay off it. The good bit of this is that a couple of years ago when I pulled up here on a bus, we had two young gentlemen think it would be really funny to run up this mound with beer cans in their hands having a drink. And one of them got 3/4 of the way up and slipped and fell. Broke his arm on the keep off the bank sign. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I spent 10 minutes on here unable to breathe for fear of wetting myself laughing. What even made it worse for him was that anybody who knows me in York knows I detest people on here. And he actually came across and asked for help. So I marched him back across and taught him how to read. Now I thought that was a good idea, but he didn't think it was funny, so I left him there to die. So there we go. So there's a little tip. If you're in York, don't run up and down there if I'm here, because it's not a good thing. So we upgraded the cast to stone 13th century. Same time the city walls were upgraded to stone to keep the Scots out who were raiding up here. We've got any Scots on? Oh, didn't build them high enough, did I? I'm joking. I'm not joking. We were allowed in there. But that's what they were built for, out of the stone. Well, the walls were upgraded to stone to keep the Scots out who were raiding. Note I use the word raiding, not attacked. Don't believe Braveheart and all that nonsense. It's typical Hollywood. The Scots have never attacked York in any big numbers. They just raided up here. This is all that's left of it now. 13th century upgrading stone. It's called a... That's the keep you can see on the top there. For you ladies on board, if you look from above that, it looks like a 4-leaf clover. For you gentlemen, if you look down from above, it looks like a 4-pack of beer. It's the best way I can describe it. It used to have a roof on. The roof disappeared 1684, St George's Day, when the soldiers had a party. Now I'm guessing alcohol was involved in the party, because not only did they do a gun salute for St George's Day, but somebody set fire to the whole of the gunpowder store in there and blew the roof complete off the castle. Nobody, astonishingly, is recorded as being killed, but the gentleman on the top is recorded as being seen being fired off the top like a cork. He's been shot over the castle walls, come down, landed in the moat and lived. Possibly the luckiest man alive on earth that night. That's the castle. The other building just to the left there with the pillars in front, that's the old men's and women's prison from the 1700s. Today it's the Castle Museum. Castle Museum, modern history, modern 500 years in York. Basically, it's everything from the Civil War, 1644, through to present day. Men's and women's prison. Ladies, the women's prison, over there, ladies, was 3 times the size, ladies, of the men's prison. Why is that then, ladies? Were you naughty than us back then, or what? It's actually very simple, this. 1700s, there was no social services. When a woman went to prison, so did the children. They had to have a bigger prison. To our left, we've got the old magistrates court. The Crown Court. It's the old assize court. It's now the Crown Court. We still hold people in this building in the same cells they were held in back in the 1700s. They can't alter them. Grade 1 listed. So you could end up in here awaiting trial in the same cell Dick Turpin was held in. You could be sat next to him because he haunts it. Among 1 or 2 other places he haunts around here. This cell was actually the last one on the end here, with the bars on allegedly. Now, last bit of castle wall here to our left, 30 foot high that we've got around the castle. You can see the big tower on the corner. Look down the bottom where this yellow chain is, look, that's where the drawbridge went in. Into the castle, you can see the outline of it, of course the wooden bit's gone. This would have all been water around here, of course, the River Foss, here it is. And this would have gone, the water here would have gone right up to the city walls ahead of us. And now we're going to turn left and right here, we're going to go around the Postern Tower. Postern rear entrance, so wherever the walls came down to water, this is what you'd have found, a big tower like this, marking the end of the city wall. Now as we turn right around the tower, you'll see it here on the right, around that way, you'll see on the end of the wall here, it's open today, you can go here, have a look round, quite a nice thing to do. There's a piece of stone sticking out, look, on the end of the tower to your right. That's called a garderobe. That's the medieval toilet chute. Waste would come out of that chute, go straight down into the King's Fish Pool, down below, which is where he was feeding the troops the fish from. Nice. Anybody having fish and chips later? Not now. Right, you all come for this bit, haven't you? Over the hedge to our left, we have a graveyard. In this graveyard there is one large upright headstone. It has 2 names on it, John Palmer, who nobody's heard of, and Richard Turpin. This to our left is the grave of one man, not 2. It is the grave of Dick Turpin, of course, the Georgian highwayman. Now, Turpin has become a legend. The legend tells of this lovely character who rode around on a horse called Black Bess. He would jump out from behind trees in front of stagecoaches, shouting those immortal words, "Stand and deliver," at which point you get him all your money and everybody goes home happy. Hurrah! That's not how it was though. He was a revolting character. Thief, forger, poacher, murderer. Not a nice man. Never had a horse called Black Bess. That was made up after his death, written into a book by the author Harrison Ainsworth called Rookwood, to make him sound nicer than he actually was. He wasn't from York, he was from down south. He came here to escape capture, laid low at a place called Brough just to the east of here, where he made his error. It's alleged he shot the landlord's cockerel dead one night that was keeping him awake. Not the cleverest thing to do if you're a wanted man. Got him arrested. He was brought to York for trial. We realised he wasn't who he claimed he was, honest John Palmer. He was dastardly Dick Turpin. So we took him on to the Knavesmire, where he was hanged on the 7th of April, 1739. Good riddance, not the man of the legend. It's amazing how many people in York, and including the York press, seem to for some reason think he is still this romantic figure of legend. He was not. Back onto Warmgate, as I say, longest street in the city, and to our right we have this lovely building coming up, lovely timber frame building dating back to 1400. This is Boresmorel House. In the 1800s this building became known as Kilmartin's, a lodging house for the poor. If you couldn't get a bed for the night in there, they used to put a rope from one end of the building to the other, just hang the rope across the building, and you would hang across the rope to sleep. It's known as a penny lean, and it's probably where we get the saying from, I could sleep on a clothesline, because they did. This was the 1850s, the Irish arrived here to escape the potato famine in Ireland in the 1840s. They came to York and they stayed here in this area. It became a very run-down area of the city, 2 or 3 families living in just a couple of rooms, 15 to 20 people. It was fairly grim, to be fair. They came in to find work. They found work on the roads, the railways, the rivers and the canals. It's why we call them navvies. Navigation systems is where it comes from. You can see some of the streets around here still have the Irish names, Shannon Street, Thistle Court, we've got Navigation Road here, Hope Street, all from the time when the Irish were around this area. Ahead of us we have something very, very special. Now lots of people, I'm going to sit down so people can see this. a little bit better. So, ahead of us we have something that most people in York don't appreciate, if I'm really honest, because we don't know about it. A lot of the tourists who come to York miss this as well. This is Gate Bar. Gate Bar just happens to be the most complete gateway attached to a city wall anywhere in the United Kingdom. We look at it from the inside as we come up to it. You'll see there's a white structure on the inside here with the lights on. That's the Elizabethan gatekeeper's house, where the gatekeepers live. So it's like an extension you'd have on a house today. It stands on two pillars, look, either side of that central arch. Those pillars are actually Roman, recycled Roman pillars. We don't know where they're from, but we do know they are Roman. So if you think recycling is actually a new idea, it's not. The gatekeeper would have kept animals on the top of there to use and sell. Mainly pigs. Of course, they would go up as piglets, come down as bacon, because they were too big to get down the stairs. So, sorry if that offends anybody, but that's how it was in days gone by. You can see the gateway's got three arches. Originally only one central one, of course, the ones left and right are both modern. But on the outside of here is what makes this special. Look how far the traffic's going around the front. On the outside of here is a barbican. It's a medieval tunnel defence system, and it works by having a gate at this end between those two pillars that's kept closed. The original gate is actually still there. We don't close it anymore because it would fall to bits probably, but it is still there. Then two walls go outwards into the road. You can see the one on the right going out into the road, there's another one on the left, and at the far end there would be another gate. During peacetime, the gate at the far end is left open. Anybody coming towards the city, like this cyclist is going to do, would come through this archway, they'd be trapped up against the gate at this end, stopped by the guards, questioned, and either allowed into the city or turned away. In times of war, however, it was different, because both gates were then closed, inner and outer. To get into the city then, you would have to attack the outer gateway, break it down, run between the two walls to the gate at this end, and then break the gate down at this end. But of course, as you're doing that, the soldiers who were being nice to you aren't anymore. Now they're above you on the walls, and they're throwing all kinds of nasty things down from above. Not boiling oil, as is portrayed in every Hollywood movie ever made. Where would you find oil to throw down in large quantities? Urine is far too expensive and rare. Boiled up urine is what we use. Dead animals, bows, arrows would be fired down, musket shot. Look to your right, so imagine being trapped in here. The soldiers above you throwing you down. Now you will not see another barbican attached to a city wall in the United Kingdom. That's the last one. The nearest one to here is Krakow in Poland. And theirs is made of brick and still has its moat round. Apparently. It's on the bucket list to go and see. But as I say, very, very rare. You can go inside there, it's open today. I think you can go actually out onto the Barbican. It's got a little cafe in there now. Now, we do have another Barbican in York, of course, which you all know about. It's this one on the left. It's the Barbican Leisure Centre. It's not the nicest of looking buildings in York, this one, if I'm totally honest. But this wasn't here. Because up until 1971, we had a cattle market in this area. And where the Barbican now sits today would have been a cattle market and a slaughterhouse. Where we are, and up against the walls here to the right, were the pens with the cattle in, lots of them. Cattle were brought from all over the country to be traded here. So it became a very dirty, smelly area of the city. So smelly, it's said that the people who lived inside the walls to our right petitioned the council at one point to ask if they could remove the walls here so they could get a better flow of fresh air into the city. So it tells you how smelly it was. Now luckily they weren't allowed and the walls stayed up, but you can imagine how horrible it was around here. One of our smaller gateways here, Fishergate Bar, never had a Barbican, never had towers. Bricked up in the 1400s after a poll tax riot. It was kept shut for 300 years, became known as Nowtgate, because Nowt came in and Nowt came out. Lovely old building to our right, Seahorse Hotel. This was the Shire Horse. You can see it's the old coach in it with its big arch to get horse and carts through. Like all the other pubs that were around here, and there were lots of them, they all faced left towards the cattle market, except that one, the Edinburgh Arms to our right. The Edinburgh Arms is the wrong way round, deliberately built the wrong way round. All the other pubs faced the cattle market for the English traders. The Edinburgh Arms was specifically built for the Scottish cattle traders at a time when the English and the Scots didn't get on very well, so they actually built it the wrong way round. The idea was after a day's trading, the English would come out on that road we've just come down, the Scots come out of the Edinburgh Arms on this road. It keeps them apart, it stops them from having polite political discussions with their fists. Now, law in York these days, which means, it basically says if you build around the city walls, you've got to build out the same stone and get things to blend in. So this is what they've done ahead of us here with a travel lodge. Now the designer of this hotel said, and I quote, when he built it, it would fit in with Old York. Well, it would if Disneyland was around here, wouldn't it? But you can see what he's tried to do. He's covered it in magnesium limestone, he's put a turret on the end, so you can sort of see, it's better when the trees are in front of it, basically, blocking it. But in 800 years it should look like that on our right, but it won't, will it? Because there's a flaw in this, because in 800 years the walls will be 1600 years old, still standing. Travel lodge won't be, will it? Now, you wonder where the flood barrier is in York. Look to your left, there's a glass structure above the river. Look below it, there's your flood barrier today. Down in the River Foss, stopping the River Ouse, the main river which meets up just past it down there, from backing up the River Foss, flooding the eastern side of the city. It actually works very well, as you probably know, in York, most of the time. Sometimes we've had problems with it. Most of the time, it works very well. If you're not from York and you don't know how York's river's flood to, the river is in flood today, and it is quite high, I have to say, but not as high as it can go, because in 2001 the river here in York rose to its record height of 17 feet 9 inches above normal. How high is that? Look to your right. In 2001 the water level here in York had got to the top of the central arch on that bridge to our right. Now take the level across, that's quite high. The Bonding Warehouse has never reopened. It used to be a bar, nightclub and restaurant. It's never reopened as that, it's now just apartments. They've had to build a bridge to the second floor to get you in. It was flooded so badly. Two castles in York, where was the second one? Well, it was here, on our right. This mound is the Mott, with the trees on it, but there's no castle to be seen. Why? Because it was only ever made of wood. Nobody wanted to pay for it. For hundreds of years it was passed backwards and forwards from sheriff to council, council to sheriff, until eventually it was found to be in such a sad state of repair it was pulled down, so only have the one remain of a castle left in the city. Now, have we got anybody on this bus who lives in this area? Bishopthorpe Road. Before I upset somebody. No, Bishopthorpe Road, right? This is one of our posh areas in York. Bishopthorpe Road in 2015 was voted the best shopping precinct in the country. In 2016 it was voted the shopping precincts best shopping precincts winner. That takes some saying on a night out, I can tell you. But it's a nice little area. If you haven't been around here, come and try it out. It's great. Lots of little quirky shops in there. Independent businesses. It's pretty good up there. You know the type of thing. 18 quid for a cup of coffee. No, I'm joking. It's not that bad. It's really nice up there, to be fair. But it is really quirky and really nice. And they're very proud of that area of the city. And so they should be. They've made a great effort to make it into something. To our right, we pick up the city walls again here at Victoria Bar. This bit of the ditch here, you can see, would have had water in because it's close to the river. Not all the ditches around the city would have had water in. It's very difficult to get water flowing right around the city because unless you keep that water flowing, people get ill, start dying of disease. To our right, one of our gateways, modern 1838 Victoria Bar. Not very exciting, is it? It's just 3 holes in the wall. Never had a barbecue, never had towers. Queen Victoria was asked by the then Lord Mayor of York, George Hudson, to come and open it in a ceremony. She declined. Can you understand why? It's just 3 holes, isn't it? Now, here's the city walls again on our right. We can see the interval towers as we go around here. The interval towers, I've forgotten today how many there was. I think it was 35 originally, 34 still remaining. Spaced at shouting distance so guards could shout their instructions from tower to tower. Keep going, Doddy, you're alright. Now, if we follow the walls down here, right at the far end we can see Micklegate Bar. Micklegarter means Great Street. It's the front door to York, of course. It's the royal entrance. This is the gateway that every monarch who visits York is supposed to come round to and ask permission to come into the city through this gateway. They have to ask. They're not allowed in like we are. And all have done this since William the Conqueror's time, except for 2. Henry VIII, on his second visit, didn't come round here. Did on his first, then he fell out with us. On his second visit, he couldn't be bothered to come round here. So he decided to come in through Warmgate Bar, because that's where he was coming from the east. Now, that would have been alright, apart from the fact that nobody had told the crowd. The crowd was stood around here, waiting for him. They stood here for hours, waiting for a king to turn up who didn't. He was already in there, he didn't even bother coming to say hello. So you can imagine he was not very popular after that. He became known as Awkward Henry. Queen Victoria didn't come round here either because she only came to York by train. In her reign, the station was within the city, so she didn't come round here either. King Charles, the reigning monarch, came round here just after he'd been made king. A great honour, to be honest, for the city, that he came so soon to the second city. Most of us on this bus probably still think York's the capital. I do. I've been to London, it's horrible. York's still the capital of England. Don't let Birmingham, if anybody's on this bus, claim to be the second city. Just because they're bigger than us, don't make them the second city. York is the second city. So most of us think it's still the capital. But the king came round here, he asked permission to come through here. Of course, there was no way we were going to say, "Oh, not today, sir, you can't come in." Because it's also known as Traitors' Gate. It's where the heads of traitors, you can go down if you want. It's where the heads of traitors were chopped off, boiled, rolled in tar and left on a spike on the top as a warning to those coming to the city to behave. Most famous head on top of this gateway was that of Richard, Duke of York, an event immortalised in Shakespeare's Henry VI, where Queen Margaret of Anjou says the words, "Off with his head, set it on York Gate, turn it inwards, so that York may overlook the town of York." It happened here to our right, Micklegate Bar, Royal Entrance, Traitors' Gate. Now, I don't know if you pass this every day if you live in York. Have you ever wondered what this beetle's doing at all ahead of us? Well, this beetle is a picture of a tansy beetle. Tansy beetles are very, very rare. They're only found on one very small section on the Ings here in York. So rare, in fact, that I urge you, if you do, when it gets a bit warmer and they start coming out again, don't step on them. They are very, very rare. But they're called tansy beetles. This is York Railway Station, of course, 1877 when it was built. It was the largest railway station in the world. It's not the largest anymore, but it is quite impressive. Built on a long curve. The first permanent station was over here to our right, though. Look at the big arches through the wall. Victorian vandalism. The trains used to pass through underneath us here, go through the arches to our right there, then swing hard to the left to the old station inside the walls. The problem was getting the train back out again. Once you got it in there, you have to either reverse or turn it round on little turntables, carriage by carriage, by hand by hand. Now that, of course, is alright if it's one or two trains a day, but York was getting very busy. So we built the new station here in 1877, which is a good job really, because by 1900 there were nearly 300 trains a day coming through York, so you can imagine what it would have been like for having to push them backwards and forwards in and out the old town. Would have been absolutely chaotic. Coming up on our right hand side here, we've got a little graveyard in the middle of the road. This is a cholera graveyard, 1832. Cholera breaks out at a place called Hagworm's Nest, which is where we've just come from on Skeldergate Bridge area. The churchyards filled up quickly. They didn't really want the bodies in the churchyard for fear of the disease spreading. So they brought the bodies round the wall, threw them over the wall into a pit to stop the disease spreading. It didn't, because they didn't understand cholera in 1832. It's not airborne, it comes from sewage and dirty water. Place the bodies there, does nothing to stop the disease spreading, but they didn't know that back then. We go around the memorial gardens. These are gardens dedicated to those who gave their lives in the First and Second World Wars. It's where our lovely Remembrance Day parade takes place here on our right. Beautiful little area, and rightly so. Of course, most of you on this bus, I'm guessing, will have been to the National Railway Museum. Fantastic place. It's been done up at the moment. Of course, if you haven't been there, it's straight down the road there. It is worth doing. I'll give you a little... Amara downstairs in the blue, there's my daughter. And we always have this bit of a giggle with this, because for many years, as a child, because I'm from Yorkshire and tight, days off used to take her to the National Railway Museum. Nowadays, when we have days off together, she said, "Can we go somewhere together, Dad?" And then it's followed by, "Please not the National Railway Museum again. Please pay for us to go somewhere, you're tight." So there we go, that's what happens. But it is fantastic. Lots in there of interest for everyone. I'm not going to go into it because there is so much you all know about it. It is brilliant. Now, however, I've got to be careful with this next story because I'm going to get told. Does anybody live in this building to our right coming up? No? Right, I'll tell you about it then. I'll get myself in trouble as usual. I said earlier about buildings in York being made to look like old buildings. Some are very good, some are not so good. Some are wonderful, some are not my favourites. This is not my favourite coming up here, Adam. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. Let me get that out of the way and done with before I get told off. There's nothing wrong with it at all. But when it was first built, you might remember, this was advertised as Westgate Apartments, New York style, comes to Old York. Oh dear. Why would we want that? Now, no offence to anybody from New York. New York's a lovely city, but it's what it says on tin. New York. This is old York, the original one. Every other York is named after this city. Does that fit in with a 2,000-year-old city? I'm not so sure. There's nothing wrong with it, so it's beautiful inside. Its most famous resident used to live in there was the lovely, famous actor Dame Judi Dench, local York girl. We love her to bits in York, don't we? She's a fabulous lady. You used to see her there putting on with the pom-pom slippers to keep milk bottles out in the morning. You never made that up, by the way. But lovely lady. Now, the arches through the wall, we do get a bit confused sometimes about arches through our walls. These weren't here, by the way, just in case you thought that everybody that attacked us just walked through an arch. These are modern, put through for the traffic. Simple as that. The old station hotel is straight ahead of us. It's the cream colour building. It's now the council offices, of course. And the Grand Hotel over the wall's alright. My favourite modern building, 1876, I believe. The old North Eastern Railway headquarters. It's not 1876, 1906, sorry. I'll get it right one of these days. Now, we're going to go within the city. We say within and without. I don't know whether you know that in York. We don't say in and out. We say within and without. So we're now within the city because we're within the walls. You can see the walkway going round 2 3/4 miles, 3.4 kilometres. We go over Lendl Bridge, built in 1863 to replace a ferry that used to cross the River Ouse. River Ouse actually gets its name from a Celtic word, ushka, meaning clear water, though I'm not so sure it's so clear today with the river being churned up. The old hospitium over to your left there, the gardens of the museum. That's where the nuns and monks of St Mary's Abbey used to put up the traders and people who were staying overnight. It's like a medieval travel lodge. Museum gardens to our left, home to the ruins of St Mary's Abbey, also the largest Benedictine Abbey in the north of England. Mind these trees to your left, the flick of it, the police trees there, the special branch. Now, in there you'll find, say, the ruins of St Mary's Abbey, Yorkshire Museum. The Yorkshire Museum is the older history of York, so if you want Roman, Saxon, Viking, this is the place you go. Fascinating stuff, and of course it's one of the nicest places in York just to go and have a wander around, have a coffee, sit around and just set the work for you. Mind the squirrels though, because although they make out they're really nice, they pinch everything you've got. Ahead of us, York Minster, the jewel in our crown, the largest Gothic cathedral in Northern Europe. This particular building took 252 years to build. We started building it in 1220, we didn't finish it off until 1472. It has 128 stained glass windows, over 3 million pieces of stained glass. It really is something special. If you don't do anything other than this tour, go and visit that. It's magnificent. Right, let's have a bit of romance for anybody who's single on here, wants a bit of romance. Or for you couples. So there's a little legend about this building. If you have a look ahead of you, there's a window straight ahead of you with a long panes of glass in it. Go up to the top in the sunshine, you might be able to pick out there's a heart in the stonework at the top of the window there. It's called the Heart of Yorkshire window. Legend says if you stand underneath that window with a sweetheart, give them a kiss, you'll stay together forever. Oh, does it work? You have to ask my wife, my fifth wife. Been good fun trying though. Lovely story, lovely building. Do give it a visit, watch it. I don't tell you very much about York Minster because I don't know enough about it to tell you. So what I say to people is go in there, get one of their guides to tell you all about it because they're brilliant at what they do and they will take you around and tell you all about it. I presume it's free to go in today. Normally you can get in there free, I think, with the York Pass anyway. But it's fantastic. So it's one of those places in York we don't appreciate, do we? We just go past it every day. So we're coming back round. York Theatre Hall, alright. It's said to be haunted by the ghost of the Grey Lady. It was meant to appear on the last dress rehearsal before opening night. She doesn't, it spells bad luck for the run of the show. So they always want to see the Grey Lady appear. Right, we're coming back round into Exhibition Square, so I hope you've enjoyed this tour. If you have, please give us a shout out. TripAdvisor, Visit York. I know it's a freebie. My name's Rich, got Amara and Dolly downstairs, and I hope you maybe open your eyes a bit to this wonderful city. I always say, I do this for 28 years, going round and round in circles, take the same stuff over and over again. No, because I love it. Great place to live, great people here. And I always say that, oh, more people, look. Can't you tell it's free? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. It is funny, honestly.